Hello. Good morning. And welcome to Mindful Movement AARP. I'm your host, Margie Curry. And today's session today is with our yoga instructor, certified yoga instructor, Becca Impello, who has been practicing and teaching yoga for more than 20 years. We want to remind you, though, that AARP empowers people to choose how they live as they age. AARP is a nonpartisan 501c4 organization that has over 420,000 members in Alabama. AARP's role is to advocate for those 50 plus and their families. AARP is committed to offering opportunities for people to stay engaged from their home. The Mindful Movement series provides an opportunity for you to keep moving in the safety of your own home. Good morning, Becca. Good morning. What do you have for us today?
Well, today, Margie, I thought we would work on standing poses and yoga, the asana aspects of yoga. We kind of categorize poses into, sort of the different places that we do them, whether we're lying down, standing up, seated, that sort of thing. So we're going to sit and do some warm up for our whole body and some breathing. And then we're going to focus on some of those standing poses, which are great for building strength in the legs and the trunk, especially.
Sounds great. Sounds like something we really need. We want everyone to please remember, before you begin any exercise routine, please check with your physician to see if it's okay for you to participate. All righty, let's get started, Becca.
Great. So while we'll be doing some things standing, as I mentioned, we'll start with a warm-up that's seated. And when we get to standing, you're going to have the option to use your chair as something that you hold on to or have available for balance or steadiness as needed. And there might even be some times where we sort of lean onto that chair or change our shape and use the chair as sort of the place that we put our hand or whatnot. So let's sit in any kind of comfortable straight back chair from your kitchen or from your dining room table, or it could be a folding chair like what I've got. All right, so let's just sit tall for a moment. Have your feet on the floor, your hands on your thighs, your spine nice and straight and tall. You can close your eyes here if you'd like. But I want you just to take a few deep breaths. And I want you to sort of imagine that you're pulling the breath from the bottoms of your feet as you inhale all the way up to the crown of the head, sort of helping you to sit taller. And as you exhale, imagine that you're sending the breath back down through your body, right back to the soles of your feet. So we're going to use that image to help us scan and get connected to and aware of our body at the same time that we do a little bit of deeper breathing. All right, so imagine that you're taking that next inhale slow and steady, deep from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head. And then exhale, send your awareness back down through the spine, through the hips, the legs, right back to the soles of the feet on the floor. Let's do that a couple more times. Inhale deeply. Sit tall, feel your body. Exhale completely. Scan all the way back down to the feet. 3 more times. One more time, really noticing that body from feet all the way up to the head and back down again. All right, good. Now let's just do a little bit of loosening up. We'll start with the neck and the shoulders. So turn the head right and left. When that head comes back to center next, drop the chin towards your chest and go ahead and just give that head a little roll from shoulder to shoulder. Good, and then bring that head back up. Now pick up those shoulders towards the ears and then roll them back and down. Bring them a little bit forward, shrug up, roll them back and down. You can take a couple nice deep breaths with this if you like. Inhale the shoulders forward and up. Maybe sigh it out as you drop them back and down. 3 more of these shoulder rolls. All right, now let's do a little bit of warm up for the arms. Sweep the arms out to the side and then back down. Inhale, reach up, sit tall. Exhale. 2 more. Any movement that I make, if you need to make a smaller movement or slightly different angle of that movement, that's always okay. You can make whatever adaptations and changes you need to. One more time, reaching up. Drop one arm back down. You can hold the side of the chair if you want and stretch it on over. You can drop that hand to the top of your head or down to your heart if you need to take it away from being in that reach. And then come back to center. Both arms up. And then drop that other side. Stretch up and over. Good. Back up tall. Again, reach up. Turn this time, make a little twist. Turn to one side. See if you can reach across and just hang on to the outside of your thigh or your knee. Your other hand could be reaching back or holding onto the chair. Come back to center, reach up. And then take a little twist in the other direction. Keep these twists gentle. We're still warming up. We don't ever want to force anything in our body. Good, and then come back to center. Good. Now let's just round it slightly, roll back onto your bottom, and then sit forward. Push the ribs, the chest forward, arching that back a little bit, and then gently roll back. This is one of those examples where maybe the movement for you needs to be a bit smaller because maybe there's some stiffness, tightness, or, previous injuries or surgeries to your back. But any amount of movement that you can tolerate that feels good in your body is a great idea to do. And maybe gradually you'll be able to make those movements bigger. Good. All right. Now we'll sit tall. We'll move on down to warm up the legs a little bit. So let's start with a marching. Sit tall. You can hold on if you want a little more support. If you want a little more challenge, you can try taking your arms out to the side, holding them up, holding that spine steady as you slowly march. Good. Now let's drop these arms down, shake those arms out. Now let's move on to some kicks. One leg at a time. Bend and straighten at the knee. Get that knee joint warmed up. All right, switch legs. A few kicks and pulls on this other knee. Notice how those knee joints feel today. All right, good. Now the feet, pick up that first leg again, circle the ankle, go around the other way. Good, and then just try to spread the toes, flex that foot, spread the toes out as much as you can. It helps to look at those feet. If you're inside shoes or socks, oh, that's okay. Still try to spread the toes as best you can. All right, take that leg down, other foot up and circle at the ankle. Go the other way around. Good, and then hold that foot flexed, toes pulled back, but spread them out as best you can. Again, it helps to look at them. And then bring it down. All right, let's come on up into standing. So, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on standing poses today. That means we're going to use the legs a fair amount. So go ahead and just take that chair, sort of stand so that you can hold on to the back of it anytime you wanted to or needed to for a little bit more stability, okay? Or when we're transitioning from one position to another, that sort of thing. All right, so you can stand facing that chair if you think you're going to want to use it. We're going to start with the most basic of standing poses from the yoga asana tradition, which is mountain pose. And that's pretty much just standing sort of at attention with good posture, right? So lining up the knees over the ankles, the hips over the knees, the rib cage over the hips, the shoulders over the ribs, head over the shoulders, right? So you're making that line as best you can with your body. And then activate a little bit. Push into the feet. Feel the legs get a little more firm. Reach down with the fingertips so the shoulders pull slightly down away from the ears. And then lift up through the crown of the head. You might even feel a little sort of lift happening in the belly. All right, now let's take a reach overhead with mountain pose. So just like before, but now we've got those arms reaching up. Just adds a little more lift, a little more intensity. And then we'll go to chair pose. So this is where we sit back as if we were sitting into a chair that's behind us. And you could drop your hands here and hold the chair that might be in front of you. Or maybe you decide you want the arms in front of the chest instead of up by the head. They could even come hands to the heart or hands on the thighs. Now, the further back we try to sit, the deeper we bend at our hips and the knees, the more load, the more weight we put into those muscles, so you may feel it in those thighs. All right, let's come on up back to our standing tall mountain. And then drop those arms down. And just pause for a moment. Feel free to sort of shake it out or wiggle things anytime you need to, right? All right, let's try that much again. We're going to do our mountain and then our reaching overhead mountain and then our chair pose. All right, so mountain pose, stand tall. Find that awareness of your body's posture, of how things are lining up. And then on your next inhale, reach the arms up. And then sit into chair pose. Remember all those choices for where you take your arms. So choose a place to take the hands, the arms. Again, you might decide to sit a little deeper. Maybe that's not so great on your knees, in which case don't try to sit quite so far back. One more breath here. And then let's rise up again, taking that stretch up. And then dropping the arms back down to your sides. All right, now, hopefully the feet are about a hip's distance apart already. Okay, we're standing on our 2 feet. They're each on their own line. And we're going to try to maintain that spacing as we go ahead and step back with the right leg. So took the right leg and just stepped it straight back, but tried not to get on a tightrope, right? Try to stay a little bit wide. All right, front knee bends. In fact, let's do a little in and out. Now, again, if you wanted some more stability, you could bring that chair within reach, okay? So you're testing out, how's this front knee feel? How far do you want to bend it? And let's stay there now. Activate the back leg, pushing back into that back heel. And then see if you can find mountain pose in the body from the hips up. So we're still lifting tall, got the shoulders over the ribs, over the hips, head pulled back over the shoulders as well. This is warrior pose. You can reach the arms overhead like we did for our mountain and chair, or you can let the arms be in front, holding the chair or hands at the heart. Now activate those legs. Can you squeeze that right glute? Can you push down into the floor through both feet to help you reach up through the crown of the head and maybe through those fingers if they're overhead also. One more breath here. And then you can drop those arms. Feel free to hold on or not as you step it back in. Take just a brief moment in mountain pose. Breathe in, breathe out. See if you notice the difference. One leg probably feels a little different than the other because we've only done one side so far. And then let's go back with the other leg. So step your left leg back. Now the length of that stance, right? It's going to be different for different folks. It could be a real long stance. It could be shorter. All right. Go ahead and test out that front knee. Bend and straighten it a couple times. All right. Let's keep that knee bent. Activate those legs. Push into the feet. Especially push back with your left thigh so your left glute is active. And then mountain pose from the hips up to the crown of the head. Maybe add that reach overhead. Warrior one. Good. Breathe in, breathe out. I'm going to use a full breath, an energetic breath, right? For the matching the effort, the work of the posture. Good, and then again, drop the arms, use the chair as needed to step it back into mountain pose. Take a moment again to just notice the sensations in your body. All right, now we're going to do next warrior pose, and then we're going to take it to a different pose that uses the same sort of footprint. So step the right foot back again. We're back into that warrior pose for the most part, front knee bent. All right, reach the arms up if you want. Take 2 or 3 more breaths here. All right, and now straighten that front knee. All right, so the difference between this next one, which I'm going to call pyramid pose, is that the front knee is straight or mostly straight. All right, and then we're going to fold from our hips, trying to keep a straight spine, really keeping a mountain spine. And this is where the chair makes a handy prop. We can put our hands on the chair or walk down a little lower, maybe put the hands on the seat of the chair. There are some folks who feel pretty comfortable taking these hands right down to the floor or to their leg, but that's not a lot of people, honestly, because those hamstrings don't tend to let us go that far. So I'm going to use the chair. I'm pushing into my legs, though. I'm starting to get a little more active with the pose. 2 or 3 more breaths. And if you're feeling some stretch down the back of that left leg, that's what we're looking for. Some people will feel more of a stretch in their back calf, so that's possible as well. All right, now let's come up to warrior 1 again. The warrior that we've already done. The front knee bends, the head, chest, and arms lift. And then step it in, pause. Again, take that moment to observe your 2 legs. All right, let's do the other side. So step back with the left leg. We come to warrior pose first. So right knee bent, both legs actively push into the floor. You can add that reach overhead with the arms. All right, now taking warrior pose to pyramid pose, straighten the front knee. Be careful not to lock it. It's okay for it to be a little bit bent. And you just fold forward and you listen to the back of that leg to tell you kind of when to stop, right? Or maybe it's your back that tells you when to stop. And then your hands can rest on the chair, low or high, or maybe hands on the thigh, or even some folks' hands might go right down to the floor and be comfortable. Activate the legs. Push into the feet. Can you spread out your toes? Be aware of your breath. Take 2 more rounds as we stay here. Good. All right. Back to warrior 1. Bend the front knee. Bring the head, chest, and arms up. And drop those arms down and step it in. Take another pause. Observe what you're feeling in the legs and the feet. All right, now we're going to revisit our mountain and chair pose one more time before we turn to a slightly different orientation for a few more standing postures. Inhale, reach up for mountain with the arms raised. Sit back and down into chair pose. Remember those options. You can drop the hands or reach them out in front or overhead. One more breath here in chair pose. This is a great one for strengthening those legs. I'm sure you feel it. Inhale, rise up tall. Maybe even some of you would like to take a little dive, a little back bend. And then release those arms down. All right. Now, the next set of standing poses we're going to do facing more of a sideways direction. So you can leave the chair right where it was, but now step out the feet so that you're standing sort of with a straddle stance or a wide stance. All right. And the first one we're going to do here is called warrior two. So that's another version of warrior pose. So the leg that's further away from your chair, let's say, let's turn those toes in a little bit, turn that leg in, and then turn the leg that's closer to the chair so that the knee and the toes point at the chair. All right, and then I'm gonna, again, explore just that bending of the knee, and move in and out of it a little bit until I feel ready to hold, finding a good bend of the knee that feels right. I do want to try to keep this inner thigh open, so I'm pressing that knee so that it goes right out the hip, right? So it's going sort of straight out towards the chair if you've got it there. It's not falling inward. All right, activate the back leg. We still want that glute active. Find mountain pose in the rest of the body. And do know that there's a little bit of an angle, right? It's not possible to turn my pelvis all the way in my belly and everything to the side because that front knee would come in, all right? And then you can lift the arms, one or both, up to be parallel with the ground. You may want to turn and look at the front hand. That'll be the one towards the bent knee. Okay, now we'll do a little play with this one. Come down. You could use a hand on the chair or elbow or hand on the thigh or the knee. And see if that top arm wants to sweep up and over the top ear. If that feels like too much, try arm up towards the ceiling. Strong legs. Push into those feet. 2 more breaths. Now come on up. Now we're going to stay in this position. If you need to shorten it or you need to take a break, feel free to move. But before we change sides, let's do the next standing pose that looks similar to this, which is triangle pose. So we're going to straighten that front knee and then bend in at the crease of that hip. And again, using the chair is just a nice way to get some support. So you might take your hand to the top of the chair, the seat of the chair, or you could come down to your shin or your thigh, right, with that hand. And then you might reach that back arm, sort of straight away from the torso, straight out from the shoulder. Take a few breaths here, make those legs a little more active. Again, this is triangle pose. I guess it's called that because we make a lot of triangular shapes with the body with this one, between the legs and even between the arm, the bottom arm and the bottom leg. All right, now let's come up. Go through warrior two first. Bend that front knee. Stretch the arms out parallel. And then drop the arms, straighten the leg. Turn the feet and just walk them in. Whew, take a little breather, maybe shake those legs out. All right, now you might just turn around in your space. I'm going to move the chair just because I need to keep facing the camera, but you don't have to, no requirement for that. Same routine on this other side. So step out wide. Just make sure you're switching legs. Turn the one leg in a little bit, turn the other leg so that the knee, the toe points all the way out to the side. And then do a little bend and straighten in that knee to get a feel for how far you want to go. Good. And then hold there, pushing this knee away, making sure that, points straight out from the hip. You should be using that outer glute. Take the arms up if you want. You could be holding onto the chair with one hand. That back leg is active. Squeeze into that glute. Good. Just like with our first warrior pose, we want to find that press down into the legs to help us lift up through the spine and up through the crown of the head. Now, here comes that little variation where we bend in towards that front leg. It could be hand on the chair, hand on the thigh, or elbow on the thigh. That top arm can sweep up by the ear. I don't think I mentioned on the other side, but we call this one side angle pose. So we're making an angle with the body and stretching the side body there. 2 or 3 more breaths here. Strong legs. And then bring it back up. All right, we go to triangle pose. We don't change our feet much. Could shorten your stance if you wanted. Straighten that front knee, but again, try not to let it lock. And then we fold in at the crease of that front thigh. Lean in, maybe use the chair or use the hand on the shin or the thigh. Back arm can reach out from the shoulder if you want. Good triangle pose, strong legs, just like our other standing postures. Push those feet into the floor. Two more breaths here. And then bend that front knee. Come on back to warrior two. Pausing there for a moment. And then straightening that knee, turn the feet, walk it back in. Pause a moment, just sort of an informal mountain pose, right? Sort of an at-ease mountain posture. All right, now let's finish our sequence today with one more standing posture that works on balance. So it's a one-legged standing posture. So make sure you got something to hold on to if you want as needed. And just choose which leg you want to start on. You're going to put your weight in that leg. Pick up the other foot. See if you can bring it right to your ankle. Could even have the toes touching the floor if balance is enough of a challenge that you can't be on one foot for very long. Or you can bring that foot up onto the calf, the inside of the knee, the inside of the thigh. Make sure you're pulling everything into the middle here. You're squeezing your hips together. You're not letting anything drift out to the side. You're lifting up through the crown of the head. You're finding that mountain pose in your body, maybe even raising those arms overhead if you want to. Remember that for balance, it can help you be more steady if you keep your eyes fixed on one spot. And if this is fairly easy for you, if you can hold this without too much wobble, then you might choose to turn or move your gaze just around the room to give you a little more challenge. All right, let's take it down. Notice that leg you were standing on feels a little heavier maybe. You can shake it out a bit. And then let's switch sides. Stand tall on the other leg. Turn the knee out. Bring the foot somewhere on the inside of the standing leg. Hug everything into the midline, especially around the hips. Maybe you choose to raise those hands. Some people like the option of putting the hands together at the heart. That feels a little steadier. That's a great place to challenge yourself if you've been holding on and you feel ready to try to let go a little bit. All right, release that tree pose. And let's come back to a seat in the chair, although you could stay standing if you wanted to. But let's just wind this down. I want you to just take a moment and notice how you feel, noticing those legs. We put some demand on the hips, the thighs, the feet. So you may have just increased awareness of all of those areas. You may want to pick up one foot, give it another circle at the ankle. Maybe do the other foot. Invite you to do a little stretch for the hips, crossing one ankle either on the shin, turning that knee out, or bringing it up higher, crossing it on the thigh or the knee, looking for some stretch in that glute and that hip. You can maybe lean a little bit into this. Really depends on, how far your body goes with this position. And let's switch sides if you want for this one. Crossing at the shin or up on the thigh, sit tall. Maybe that little lean into it. And then release. Let's come back to where we started. Sit with the feet on the floor, or you could be standing. Now let's take a few breaths. Bring your awareness from your feet all the way up through the crown of the head as you inhale. Take your awareness on the exhales from the head all the way back down to the feet. Use this to slow down your rate of breathing. Take the opportunity to Enjoy a few deeper, fuller breaths. 3 more of these breaths. Inhale deeply, fully. Exhale slowly, completely. One more breath with me. All right, open those eyes if they were closed. Thank you for joining me for Mindful Movement. Thanks again to AARP of Alabama for providing us with these opportunities to move together at home. We'll hope to see you next week on Tuesday.
Thank you very much, Becca. Very challenging session today. We want everyone to remember that. We want you to be a part of our holiday show, next yoga program. And so, because we want you to get some yoga in before you begin your celebration. So don't forget to take our survey. Let us know what you think about us. We enjoy having you on our program. And as usual, we'll see you next time on Mindful Movement.
Bye.